Serious problems.
Before we dive in, we just wanted to be crystal clear. Skiers Problems is very much against the war in Ukraine and hopes that the peace can be re-established as soon as possible. The chat we had isn't about politics or backing a government. It's about hearing from one skier in Russia who's not necessarily responsible for the decisions of his government. It would be stupid to say that Russia wasn't a big part of cross-country skiing before, so we were just interested to hear about how skiing looks on the ground over there right now. And we think it's okay to hear about individual stories without losing sight of the bigger picture. We discussed some interesting topics today, so I think it will be very interesting for you guys to listen. Tune in, enjoy.
Right, Jimmy, what's your serious problem?
Oh, mate, I'm in Torsby right now, which is already in itself kind of a skiers problem, but skiing today, and I have a skiers problem for all the kids that are on the track, you know, because today we're doing intervals, and it's like Thomas Maloney Westgard just screaming all the kids to move out the track, like, track, move out! So that's my skiers problem for all the kids.
T-Money is a legend, but T-Money is definitely not going to be the center of attention on this podcast because, Jimmy, I think this is probably one of the episodes that we've been looking forward most to in a long time. We have a super cool guest with us today, one of our friends who we didn't get to see anymore after a happening in 2022. And it's Sergei Volkov from Russia. Welcome, Sergei.
Hi guys,
How are
nice
you?
to meet you again. I'm
Yes.
fine. So now I'm in Monte Bandone in Italy training. So now I'm having an altitude camp with the national team, and we're preparing for next winter season, maybe for the Olympics, but we'll see.
You're actually going straight into a topic that we're all wondering. Like most people listening to the podcast are from Western countries. We are fed by information that we read in the news. What do you guys think? How big is the chance that you're actually going to compete in the Olympics?
So we had a talk with you, I think 3 weeks ago, and I
Yes.
told you that from my point of view, the chance is only 1%. Lots of things changed in international politics. Maybe the chance is a little bit more now, but lots of things should happen for Russian skiers to come back to the World Cup. I really want to know how much you know about Russian cross-country skiing now. Russian skiers are not at the World Cup haven't been for World Cup for 4 years practically. What did you hear about Russian skis now?
I think
now,
that's
for now.
exactly why we wanted to do the podcast, is like, because you, Sergey, you're actually a good friend of Mika from before, and we know all these athletes from Russia. I'm friends with a couple of them, and we don't know anything about you guys anymore. We don't have any contact.
Yeah.
Like, it's
So
it's
you
been-
haven't seen
we-
any race?
I've seen the bits of races now and then, but like honestly, I have no ideas about the result. Who is good, who is not good, and I think that's why Mika, our listeners, are actually quite curious to hear how all of you guys are doing and like who's good, who's not good, what's happening. I don't even know who's retired or not. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to hear what you can tell.
You have to know, Sergey, that all our information about Russian skiing relies on cross-country skiing warriors. It's this Instagram account, and he posts results
I know
of
the account,
basically every cross-country skiing race and also of Russian races, and that's basically everything that we know.
So for a long period, and to be honest, a lot had changed. I can speak about each season in brief if you want, just for you to understand better what really happened. Russian cross-country skiing. So the first, I think that during the first year of no international competitions, I think that every leaders, I think they believed that the situation will change before the start of a new season. Yeah. After Olympics, yeah. And I think that many of them was a little bit shocked when they start this season at Russian Cup. not in at World Cup. When competitions in Russia started, lots of guys were not prepared enough. So because they thought about World Cup, and to start competing in Russia was like something curious, maybe something that they haven't thought about. And we had so Alex Bolshunov wasn't dominating for during the first races. So he need a couple of races to start doing like that he was doing during the previous World Cup stages. That he was the best among Russians.
So
Second
I think
call
we
the
can
first
say
season.
he was the best among pretty much everyone. He was so good in Beijing. He was coming
Yeah,
really,
so
really good
but
season
I think
actually.
yeah, it was a very good season, and during the Olympics he was in top shape and dominating in the international cross country skiing for sure. But for me, the main character during the first season in Russia was Sergei Volkov.
Oh yeah.
Yes, for sure, because because like people forgot that he is also a very talented guy and a star like Alex Bush. From the middle of summer, he started to training, so not in the national team. So he started to train alone. So Marcus Kramer sent him plans, and he prepared alone for a new season during the Russian Championship. And in a couple of stages of Russian Cup, he was dominating, and he won, and his shape was much better during the Russian Championship. So this is a Russian Championship for us now. This is the main competition during the whole winter, and every athlete tried to show his best during like this competition, so Russian Championship. And it's held in February or in the beginning of March usually. This is the main competition because it's hard to be in good shape for whole season, and but what is the place? So we need one main start where we can check how everybody is prepared. Sergei was the best because he won sprint. He beat Alex Terentiev in the classic sprint, and then he won a marathon. I think it was the best race I saw because I wasn't competing. I saw this race on TV, and I was shocked because he started to push all out from the second uphill, and he made a gap of maybe 15 seconds. Then he tried to make more gap. At the finish line, it was maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So the second guy, so it was Alexei Chervotkin. Alex Bolshunov was third, and the gap was maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It was an incredible performance from him. And for me,
Was this long race? Because I saw that one time there was a Russian championship over like 90K or something.
it was a 50 kilometers Russian Championship race, but we also have 70 kilometers race in the end of the season. It's like an ultra marathon race. Yeah. So so during this year, Sergei also won, like he won a sprint in Russia at Russian Championship. He also won marathon, classic style marathon, beating everybody by like couple of minutes. And he also won an ultra marathon race in the end of the season. And I was third during this race. It was a skate race. It was the last race during this season for me. I think that first season after like how to say, maybe disqualification of Russian athletes, or what's better.
The
how-
Russian ban,
better
I
to
think
call
it's
it?
called Russian ban.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what Fizz calls it, Russian ban.
Yeah, okay. It was a season of Sergei Volkov
Okay.
in men's cross country skiing in Russia, and also during this season, the women's competition was also dominating above others. And but Veronika Stepanova was, I think, it was her best season because she tried to beat Natalia in some races, and she was very motivated after Olympics, after taking a gold, even in the relay race. And she was training good, and she was really good prepared, and she won some races. She was the main competitor of Natalia.
She also was working really hard to never be welcomed in any Western society ever again.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
what you say, but everybody should know that her opinion is only her opinion, and it's not an opinion of whole Russian cross-country skiing world. And this is a clear thing that you should know, for sure. And
Yeah, but it's a bit sad,
so
I think,
this is
because
how
that's-
it's-
It's a bit sad because I think it's the only thing that we kind of heard in the media, because there was lots of beef between the Norwegians and her. It's the only story that was said from the Russian athletes. And obviously we realize that it's not the opinion of all the Russian athletes, but that's the one thing you hear in the Western media. I think it gave a bad image of the rest of the Russian skiers from our side, and probably didn't help with the Russian ban, to be honest.
Yeah, you should understand that Russian skiers are rather diplomatic, most of them, and the one thing that everybody wants is to compete with the strongest athletes again, and to to develop cross country skiing in all the world. Because I think that the clear problems that we have now, that for me, country skiing in the whole world need to find a solution how to develop in the future, because I think that we are in stagnation, and it's not so interesting to watch cross country skiing as it was some years ago. And the reason is not, for me, the reason is not only in ban of Russian cross country skiers. I think that the reason is rather deeper, and we can talk about this topic later.
Yeah, we can talk. It is a fact that everybody these days is upset about the Norwegians dominating every World Cup and World Championships. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that is exactly what it has been for the last 10 years. Since 4 years, there's no Russian flags between Norwegian flags. And that's why all of a sudden there's two nations fighting for the win, but there's literally one nation up there. So without the saying the ban is good or bad, I think that it definitely did not help the sport to develop. But I think I know what you want to say, Jimmy. The races are different because usually when you had people like or sometimes people like Kin, or especially the second best Russians, they usually didn't think so much in racing. When it was the start, they just went full gas and the race exploded. All of a sudden you had a super open race with a lot of people dropping and attacks. Now I think it's much more even, and people think a lot during races. Nobody actually just goes for it after 1 or 2 kilometers. So I think that the race dynamics have definitely shifted after the Russian ban to more gradual racing. I think if you look at the strongest team with the strongest athletes, that's Norway. They all race really smart and they know how to pace their races. I think that made skiing fun sometimes when you had some Russians there that were not the best in pacing races, and they just went for it. And then we're like, oh, let's see how it goes.
I remember Usugov just going at the front of races, just going all out. I don't know if he thought he was so much better than everybody and just went all out, and 200 meters later get completely fucked and everybody went
So,
past.
yeah,
So it did
think
change
back
the
like a 30K
dynamics.
In Russia, it shows the same. The races with Stugov are like very not usual races, because you know that something can happen and you're waiting for something. If he's in shape, he can do whatever he wants. He can start accelerating in any part of the race, even from the start in a marathon, as it was in the 23rd year, of Russian Championship. Yeah. So in Russian Championship in 2023, he did the same. It was incredibly. But so for me, the idea is that it's not a problem that Norwegians are dominating. It's not a problem, because I can say more that I think that it should be more Norwegians at World Cup, because, for example, we should the competitive level should be higher for people. So for people to be interested in cross country skiing, we should make the competitive level higher and higher. If we have more Norwegians at World Cup, the competitive level will be really high, because they all need to qualify for World Cup. And these guys that are preparing in regional teams can show viewers during the race if they are well prepared, but they need to qualify first. Russians, of course, will increase the competitive level of competitions. I think that for me as a child, it was very interesting to watch tours like Tour de Ski. It was also very interesting to watch. And maybe it was more interesting than to watch.
Sergei, if you're gonna continue saying that you want more Norwegians and more tours, the thing is, I can feel this ticking time bomb, which is called Federico Pellegrino, who's listening to the podcast right now, and he's exploding on the other side.
I think not so many people agree with your point of view.
Yeah, but it's my point, like that because
Yeah, but it's great. Sergey, have a point of view that nobody agrees on. That's how you
Yeah.
get good discussions.
Maybe you enjoyed Ski Tour 2020 in Scandinavia, but in terms
yeah.
of viewers, it was one of the biggest flop that has happened in the World Cup. Like for many years, it was so little viewers compared to Tour de Ski and compared to other races because it was in the middle of the week where everybody's working and nobody's watching, and there was not so many people on the side of the track.
But that is the strength of the Tour de Ski. That the Tour de Ski is happening during a period where people are not working and we have time to watch ski. Plus, we are not competing with many other sports. Usually, we compete with biathlon, we compete with Nordic combined,
Yeah.
we compete with alpine skiing. And in that period, we only compete with ski jumping in the Four Hills tournament. So that's also why I think it's very popular on television. In my opinion, they should make the Tour de Ski 2 weeks, like the whole Christmas
Yeah.
vacation. But I don't have so many people that think the same.
For me, this should be changed because there are very few races into the ski and very weak formats. So very standard formats because we need to.
Wait,
um,
Sergey, I need to ask you the $1 million question now.
yeah.
How was first of all, was there a reaction? And if yes, how was the reaction amongst Russian skiers when you heard that there will be a 5 kilometer heat mass start in the Tour de Ski?
Have you heard about this?
Yes, and I watched this during Topagist Record.
Oh, you watched it?
In the Norwegian festival. Yeah, I think the idea was good, but they need to work on that idea because maybe athletes, maybe heat masters. For me, I want to see heat mastered. I discussed this topic with my friends from the team. And so we don't have like we don't speaking too much about that because we understand that to ski this year is practically unbelievable for Russian skiers. And but I can say that maybe heat master should be like the race, yeah. But then athletes, my Italian friend called it American format when the last one so go away like from the heat. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they need to do like few laps then last so and with the finish line in front of tribune or like at the
Stands.
stadium.
Yeah.
At the stadium.
Yeah, and the last guys like are disqualifying from the heat, and
Yeah,
then
eliminated. Yeah.
only maybe for example like 5 hits, maybe 2 or 3 guys qualify at the end. Some of them get so the last one maybe 2 or maybe 2 3 or maybe 5 guys qualify from all the hits by time, and then they make like a final race after that, so like hits and then a final race. So it will be like a sprint, but like a longer sprint maybe. And these guys that are more sprinters, they wouldn't have enough
Energy.
to so like
Yeah.
to compete with the distance skiers. Yeah, and maybe this is a good idea of Heatmaster, but I wish
This will be that good,
uh,
what you're saying here. This is good. I would like that. Just do a 5 kilometer sprint. I think that's fucking good. Just a normal sprint, and then instead of 1.3 kilometers,
but
just do
without
5
qualification.
kilometers.
So athletes
Yeah.
in the game in hits, then they qualify for final, and then
Yeah.
they make a race for like, and also in the final, the last one, athletes go away. It will interrupt the viewers at the stadium. They will be watching with open eyes and applause for everybody because it's really interesting. Nobody will be
Okay.
lazy. They will start to go as fast as possible in the hits because they need to like because if you are if it's hard for you to qualify like in top 3, you need to be fast to qualify by time.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 problems. The first problem is you said do the finish line in front of the stands where the people are. We don't have people watching cross country skiing. Maybe there's a grandfather walking his dog. That's the best we're gonna get. That's problem number 1. And then problem number 2 is if you're gonna suggest that heats should work as a proper heat system where people actually have to qualify to another 5 kilometer race and then there's a 5 kilometer final afterwards. I think 92% of all athletes are gonna freak out.
I think
Got it,
like
yeah.
you'd have to have big enough time between like the morning and the final in the afternoon or something like that.
Because they suggested 5 kilometer heat mass starts in this Tour de Ski because it's a short race, so it should be less depending on your body. And it's like 1 hour of continuous racing. So that should be interesting for TV spectators then. And yeah, I think those were the main reasons to add an extra race that's not a sprint, but also not taking such a big toll on the body and still somewhat interesting. Am I right, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It was to bring a new format and try something new. But if we're actually going into the deep of this, it was a complete failure at Top of Desvecchia. I think the production was horrific and it didn't really work. Everyone's kind of realized that. So we'll have to see what everybody decides about it. If Fizz comes up with a solution to make it work, or if they just do something different.
The idea of Hitmaster.
The idea was bringing a new format. Like, I think Fizz has been working to bring formats that are like better to watch on TV and like a bit shorter time as well, because sprints are a little bit too long. I think it's like 1:30 or something. But it would be better if it was like closer to like an hour 15. And so it's this reason, and try something new. It's 20 years of Tour de Ski, and then have something that's not too hard so that athletes can participate. More athletes can participate in Tour de Ski. Can also give a bit of an advantage to sprinters.
More athletes to participate in Tour de Ski. You have plenty of regions that are well prepared for cross-country skiing. They train very strong athletes, and there will be more Norwegians, more Russians.
But Sergei, I need to stop you there for a second, because you know the problem of you're talking, especially if you talk about plenty of Norwegians well prepared. The problem here, I think, Jimmy, this is very fair to say, is not on the men's side. If you look on the men's side, out of top 20 in overall World Cup, we maybe have 19 people that start and one that can't because he is ill. On the men's side, the stars, they are there. But on the women's side, I think last year from top 20 of the overall World Cup, I don't know the number, but it was a crazy amount. I think basically more or less all of the Swedish team, with some exceptions, went home after Toblach or didn't even go to Toblach.
Yeah.
This was to give an incentive to get the stars to the Tour de Ski, even in an Olympic season. I think, in my personal opinion, not showing up to the Tour de Ski because you're preparing for something else, it's such bad style. It's really weak, and it gives a bad sign. First of all, it's a lack of respect to all the organizers. Then it's a lack of respect to your own sport, because the biggest World Cup event we have is the Tour de Ski. You say, oh, I'm not going to go there because I might get tired. It's like, yes, okay, but that's also what we sell. That is our sport. We are entertainers. If we want it or not, we earn money because we entertain people. That problem is a much deeper problem. When you say there's plenty of other Norwegians or Swedish or whatever, it doesn't matter. The sport lifts up stars. You need the best people to be there. You know what's the biggest loss of having on the whole Russian band? You know what's the biggest loss of cross-country skiing? Not having Alexander Bolshunov there to beat Klabo sometimes. Because you need the stars to be there, and you need the stars to be at the best level. Personally, if you're not ill, injured, or didn't qualify, then I think every other reason to not show up at the Tour de Ski is just unacceptable.
But I think, just to finish this, what you're saying, Mika, when I first started the World Cup 6-7 years ago, or maybe even more, but whatever, it was like there were so many races in the calendar, and like way more races. And then all the athletes were asking to reduce the amount of races. Lots of athletes were skipping weekends now and then. So then FIS was like, okay, we want the best stars to be on every weekend. We will reduce the amount of races. So then gradually it's been less and less. Like before it was 4 weekends before Christmas. Now it's only 3. It's been reducing. And what we see is the athletes are still taking that choice of like, okay, I'm still going to miss some races so I can be in better shape later. I think everybody's lost on this thing.
Jamie, you also have to make a big difference in missing some races or just stepping over the Tour de Ski. It's like, I like the World Cup in Goms because there's tons of people there. But stepping over Goms is not the same as stepping over the Tour de Ski. That's shit for the attendance of the people that come to watch there. But if you look on television numbers, there's just no comparison between normal World Cup late January compared to the Tour de Ski in the Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. for me, I want to watch Tour de Ski that was in previous years when like Colonia, Nordic and Lekov was competing. They were like long races at Tour de Ski because, and it was interesting to watch because everything could change in one race when you are fatigued or not prepared. Well, but now it's like 10Ks, 20Ks, masters and sprints, and this is not. So I know who is the president during each race, and maybe it's better to held like not a form, not. I don't want to watch a format program like always 10 kilometers. Sometimes it should be longer races or shorter races because I want to see new names. For that, I think we shouldn't be so structural. For example, in track and field, okay, they compete at the same so they have 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers or maybe marathon, half marathon, but they have records because in cross country skiing it's impossible to make a record because you have different snow conditions to do the same races always. I don't know for what to do. Like for me is that for
Yeah.
from my point of view. I really want. I don't know when it would be, but I strongly believe that the future of skiing is not a sport where nations compete. It is a sport where teams compete with each other. For me, it's like a clear thing, and I want to see it in the future for our sport to develop.
Yeah.
For you mean for private teams to World Cup to open up for private teams instead of
Because
I think that's the toughest step of them all to take, because the way FIS is organized now is it's a gathering of ski federations where, especially when after the year when FIS owns the TV rights, Jimmy, when is that?
From after
Oh, can you repeat?
2026, I think. Yeah.
So until now, when you as a country organize races, you also have the TV rights, and those you sell.
I heard about this
federation.
I heard, yeah.
And now FIS, I don't know the ins and outs actually, but I know a bit about what's happening. So that FIS is getting back the money of the TV rights, or they will market the TV rights, and then the money will be distributed more fairly or equally towards all ski federations. But here the word ski federation is in play all the. Or is it not true, Jimmy? Am I talking shit?
Yeah.
You're nodding
It's.
your head?
I think it's just a bit more complicated than that. But honestly, it's really not that
Yeah, but
interesting.
that's what I
Yeah.
said. I mean, we can talk about TV rights, but we have Sergei on a fucking exciting podcast.
Yeah.
I don't think we should spend an hour on
Yeah.
explaining that.
So we can continue speaking about Russian cross-country skiing.
Try to make it 15 seconds per season next to the seasons that you didn't talk about, because otherwise we're gonna forget about that.
Okay. To grip better. For me, the second season was so in the men's cross-country skiing. It was absolutely domination of Alex Bolshinov. He won 23 races in a row, and he was dominating. Some guys think he was absolutely dominating, but for me, so during each race, he has a guy who was very close to him. Maybe in some races he beat everybody by a minute. In some races, but during the whole season, it was different guys that were really close to him. It wasn't easy for him to win 20 or 23 races in a row, but he did it. It was an incredible performance. This was a season in women's cross-country skiing when Veronika Stepan was battling with, here as maybe Sidova. She was like a part of Russian national team during the Olympics in Pyeongchang.
Yeah.
In Korea. And he took a bronze medal in team relay and was in top 10 during the time trial race. And so it was a season when Natalia Terentьeva, now Terentьeva, she was Nebraska, but now she's Terentьeva. She's,
right.
She's married with Alex Terentьeva, was pregnant. And now from this season, that was in the last year of competition, compete from New Year. And this season was like a battle of new names. No, maybe not new names because guys, it was battling with so guys that were dominated during Junior World Championship and U23 World Championship. So it was very interesting because not in this year when Kleber won the Globe, but in the previous year, Amundsen won the globe, I told Sergei, he's my friend, I told him, hey, you need to win because if Amundsen won the big globe, you also need to win the Russian Cup because you beat him in like U23 championship in Oberwiesenthal, yeah, some years ago,
Yeah.
by more than a minute in time trial, and so
I
show
was
you
I
show
was
you show
just
your
gonna
skills.
say, the people that are not
Yeah,
familiar with what happened in that race is Sergei Arashev just absolutely humiliated everybody of us in that race. It was like he was doing cross country skiing and we were all just playing on skis and with sticks. He was so much
so
better than everybody else.
he was strong. Yeah, he was a leader for the whole season, and only in the last race of Russian Cup, Saveli took the yellow bib from Sergei, and also so it was from for 2 years now. We end season in region. It's like a region that is very close to Norway, and
Yeah.
it's in the town. It's called Kirovsk in Russia, and we have a race that is very similar to Tour de Ski. So we have like a tour, like when we compete during like 6 races, and in the end we are going up up a giant slalom slope. Some guys thought that this slope is harder than Alpecin because snow in Russia is slower, and we have slow snow in most places. We had this race 2 times, and one time it was -20 at night. During the day, it was like -10 maybe or -8 during the race, but snow was ridiculously slow. So it was like you need to push your legs, be really strong to compete
How long is the uphill?
with so 3 kilometers, I think, like 3 kilometers, maybe 2.5. Yeah. So this is a good stop and a very interesting race because in Russia, so people was shocked when they saw this race on TV. Everybody was watching this on TV because it was like an incredible thing for them that in Russia we held such a great start, and everybody it was a great competition, I think. Yeah. And this year was also during this year in women's competition, it was like a battle between maybe you know her. She was like a part of Russian national team during the World Cup, and she was like in top 20. So her best results was maybe in top. She was in top 20 in I think, but she wasn't competing too much at World Cup. It was a season where she was in battle with my girlfriend Daria Nipreva. So she's the sister of Natalia, and Daria won like a title of Russian Cup winner. During the Russian Championship, it was a total domination of Natalia Terentьeva. She came back very strong. I can say now that she is even stronger than when she took a big globe at World Cup. And so her last race was when she was like 2 seconds behind Therese Johaug after Beijing Olympics. Yeah. And I think now she's as an distance skier, she's stronger than she was. Maybe not in sprint, but in distance skiing, she's on the next level. And she's training with the boys, with strong boys, and she tried to catch them and to go with them as maybe only leaders among women. Women can do this. For me, Kleber is a very strong athlete, and what he did was extremely good. I don't know if Alex Bachanov could be hit during the whole season.
This was going to be the question I was going to ask you. I have actually two questions that I really wanted to know.
Yeah.
Is would Bolshinov had 6 gold medals in Trondheim, or would he at least have beaten Klæbo on some of the races?
I think I don't think that he would won 6 races, but I think that if Russians could compete during the World Championship, I don't think Kleber would win 6 races in a row, yeah, at World Championship, because I think that even in a time trial race, even in time trial race in classic style, I know guys who can be faster. I think that the strongest guy in Russia in classic time trials now is Savely Korsolov, because he won 5 of 6 time trial classic style races in previous season, and he's extremely good, especially in 15K races.
Okay, so now
He's really
Other
Because
question.
if you would have said, for example, if would have beaten Klæbo on the 50K, then I would have been like, yeah, I hate to admit it, but he's probably right. But now that you say Corostelo would have beat him in the 10K Classic race, I don't believe it. I don't see. He was so good in that race. I don't see any possibility that anybody would have gone faster than Klæbo in the 10K Classic in Trondheim.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I don't see this race. I only watch it on TV. But I think that it will be too hard for him to be like six miles. And
Yeah.
the only
I
one.
agree.
And I want to say that I told you about Alex Terentiev because one time he beat Klæbo in Ruka. You know that
That's true.
in the Olympic year, and he wasn't so good in during 2 seasons after the Olympics. So from at the next season, during the next season, he was always second. Ustugov during the sprints, practically always second. Maybe he won some races, but in the main races, Ustugov was faster. Then he was ill for practically the whole season. A year ago, he wasn't competing on the level that he could do. He changed the team because in Russia we have groups, and each group has a head coach. He switched, so now he is not training in Borodavka team. So Yuri Borodavka, he is training with Igor Sorin team, and I think that now Alex Terentiev is very strong, and I'm sure that it's possible for him to be the second in the sprint, like in the sprint World Cup after Klæbo, and maybe to beat him during some classic style sprints, because now he improved his skating skills. He work on technique very well. And this year he was dominating. Last year he was absolutely dominating in sprints. So he was very strong. It seems very easy for him to win. When he was ready, nobody was like him because he's extremely strong. Now he's working on his distance skills, and I really want to watch him competing with Klæbo at Olympics in Italy. To run in the uphill together will be really interesting to watch.
That's actually bring us to the next question, because like the IOC have been talking about having this like neutral athletes. You maybe know a bit more about this.
Yeah.
Are you a neutral athlete? Is there anybody else that can be considered as these non-political, non-military athletes? Is there many? There's not so many.
Yes, not so many, but there are athletes that are very strong, that could take good places at the World Cup. I don't want to say names because some of them, like the guys who are in the army, don't like my words if I don't mention them. But there are some athletes, yes.
Because if you're in a military team, then you cannot be considered a neutral athlete, as far as I understood it. So then it's not like rocket science.
Yeah, for sure. But
it's Korostelov. Is he an army team?
So the answer is that there are some Russians that are strong and that could be neutral athletes and compete on very high level.
And also there was some talk about some Russians going to Minho and preparing as if they were going to race in Bruka. Is that true?
So the national team plan A is to compete in Ruka, and we have a plan B to start season in Kirovsk. It's like a city in Murmansk region. It's close to Norway, Finland, and like these countries, Scandinavian countries. But we are going to. So now we are in Italy, as I told, and we are. So the main goal that everybody prepares is it's the Olympics. So everybody tries to think positively and try to believe in Olympics, because when you have a goal, it's easier to train and become stronger, for sure. And I should say that we have a training camp in October, also in the Alps, like to prepare for like World Cup or for Russian Cup. But so the main goal is Olympics, and just to wait. We hope that all of us hope that everything will end soon, and the sport would be the same as it was before.
Yeah.
And try to live these thoughts and to train with them. So, Jimmy, if I need to answer your question, the plan is to compete in Ruka, but it is a very few time left for Ruka, for something happened, for something to be happened.
What needs to
And
happen then? What needs to happen for you guys to be able to race Enrique?
That-
Yeah.
as it's clear.
Very clear answer.
Yeah. What I want to tell you that now Russian Cup developed a lot through these years. And I think that the average level of Russian athletes grew up. I don't know. It's hard to say if the level of Bolshunov was developed or not. Or, or because he's competing with the strongest. Yeah. He helps us to become stronger, but for him, maybe he's not going full gas. Maybe during the season when he won 23 races in a row, he was extremely good. I can say because he improves his technique. You know that he bought a treadmill and he has a treadmill in his house. It really improves your technique, and do you can do an uphill for hours and also be stronger. And he has this advantage. Also,
Do you know who else has bought a treadmill?
nobody. I can say nobody because I know that there are some people who use treadmill that we have in the Russian Olympic Committee
Yeah.
Innovation Center in Moscow. Also, we have like one more. It's called like I don't have how to pronounce it in English, but so we have one more treadmill that athletes are tested on and that you can do trainings on.
In Russia, lots of athletes have a treadmill at home.
Because
The
Mika's
only one guy who have a treadmill.
Mika's a treadmill.
Yeah, I used this some years ago, and I know one guy who
2021,
used
I
it.
think.
I also know one guy who used it in the spring, or maybe in the beginning of summer. And I think that the average level for sure grew up. So if you are not good during, for example, you both know Denis Pisov, and he's a very strong athlete, but when he had a bad day, he could maybe like 30th place, or maybe 40th place in a distance race, because a competitive level is very high in Russia now. And if you have a bad day, you can be very far away from the podium. There were races this season. There were races when Alex Bolshunov was only maybe 8th or 9th, like that. So I mean that now there are lots of strong athletes in Russia.
Marker to kind of get a feeling of how tight level or how narrow or
Yeah, for sure.
how big the mass is. Usually, Sergey, in a 10-kilometer race, individual start in Russia, how far is number 30 usually back time-wise? Because it's usually, you can, like, I think in World Cup, if you are like 1 minute 15, 1 minute 20 back, then you are outside top 30.
Yeah, it's about between 1
How
minute
is
and
that in Russia?
1:20.
But you need to know one thing, that in Russia we have snow. And kilometers race is not usually a 10 kilometers race that you have at World Cup. But last time when we have, I remember one 15-kilometer race in Kazan at the Russian Cup. It was in the beginning or middle of January. And from the first place to 20th place, it was like only 1 minute, maybe 15 or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
For 15 kilometers skate race for half an hour, it was like 1 minute 30, maybe 1 minute 20, like that. I think that's
So similar to World Cup.
I was fifth during this race, and I lost 14 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're speaking about Russian and that Russian cross-country skiing was banned, maybe it's not developed like the cross-country skiing in all the world, but for sure it developed a cross-country skiing in Russia because we had like 8 or maybe 10, maybe 12, skiers that compete on a high level, and that always were at World Cup and never come back to Russia to compete. Maybe only a couple of them. Then they win in Russia and come back to World Cup and waiting for races to compete at. Now you can you can prepare for the season with clear mind. You can do lots of volume in summer, in autumn, and you know that there would be no qualification in the beginning of winter for you to compete at World Cup. You can progress from month to month with a calm, like with a calm mind. So like very astral, and then you can show your best results through the winter, and you can raise your shape. You can be in top shape during the Russian Championship and show everybody that you're the best. And no one else would say to you that you couldn't compete because you're not qualifying for World Cup. So now every young guy preparing in junior or U23 team or even a regional team knows that I can prepare with my coach and have a chance to beat Bolshunov. And there are some guys, juniors, they don't compete at junior world championship. Yeah, it's not good, yeah, but they have a chance to compete with Bolshunov, Terentiv in sprint, maybe with Stugov and Ardashev. The same for girls. So the average level of cross country skiing in Russia raised up, and I can say that it in cross country skiing in Russia has developed and is developing because of the situation. Yeah, and also for me, thought about this idea when I was thinking about what to say about Russian cross country skiing. I want to tell you about the four strongest Russian cross country skiers among men, for example. Yeah, for you to understand like clearly. So this is my point, but then you can understand what had changed in our sport. Yeah. I think that everybody knows Alex Bolshunov, and he is like the strongest for sure because he is two titled. Yeah. So the second one is Sergei Volkov, a young talent that I think that during time trial races he could be very strong. He has a very high VO2 max. He can stay on a very high lactate for incredibly long time. And this guy is also very. So this is a top second in Russia now. I would like to mention he won last season. He won he won two marathons at the Russian Championship in both styles. So 50K classic style, 50K skate style, beating everybody at the finish line. He was very good. He's the third one. One more person I would like to mention is Ivan Gorbunov. Maybe Mika knows him.
In camp in 2021, right?
Yes, he was a training monster. He was always pushing very hard during the trainings, and he was the guy who was battling for a Russian Cup win in the total score. But then he got very bad trauma in January at camp. He felt he got a trauma in his lower back vertebra. These guys are very strong in every distance, so they're universal skiers. And also, I would like to mention Alex Terentiv as an absolutely golden sprint in Russia.
Yeah.
In women's cross-country skiing, I think that the absolutely queen is Natalia Terentьeva. The second one, I should say Veronika Stepanova, because she was very good during the first two seasons after ban. She was pregnant during the last season, and now she tries to come back. I don't know how she would perform in the future like that, because it's like a very long-term process, and you need to be motivated. You need to stay with the child. If we're speaking about 3 seasons in Russia, she was number 2. And there was also, I need to say that, but it was like Daria Nebraeva, because
your girlfriend.
now she improves, yeah, for sure, because I couldn't mention her. And also, so her win during last season wasn't something unpredictable, because she improved. She was a classic style skier, and she was very good in time trials, but then she improved her technique in skate, and now she has very strong muscles, and she improved her skate technique, and now she's also a very universal skier. And she was when Natalia came back after pregnancy, and Daria was always second. She always told me I want to win her, but usually it was like some seconds. She was some seconds or some centimeters in sprints behind her. And this is 3 women that are very strong, and so this all of them won Russian Cup during these 3 years. it's hard to mention one girl that would be on fourth place because there are plenty of like yesterday's juniors and now they compete in the U23 category. Like you don't know. I think that you don't know anybody of them
Yeah.
for sure. But I would like to mention one girl because she has a very high endurance potential, and she won 2 times in a row the final climb at Russian Cup final. So like multi the race in Kirovsk.
Yeah.
And so this is Alina Pekritsova. You should remember her. She in Russia people call her like new Teresa Hauk because she's very thin and working like a machine. She's really good in distance races. Also, there are some strong girls that I think here about in the future is also competing on rather high level.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about.
So she also had some traumas, and that hurts you, and it's hard for her to compete always on a high level. But she's still in good shape, and she's still winning. I also would like to tell you about two girls, Anastasia Faleva
Yeah.
and Alena Baranova, that are dominating in sprint, and they always took medals in sprint. And this girl, so they're always on the podium in sprint races. So that's how I think in Russia is now.
So that's the people we need to look at for if you guys are coming back to World Cup. But there was really
Yeah, yeah.
a couple of other questions I had I'd written. How is the state of mind of everyone? I guess now you guys are kind of used to it, to racing on Russian Cup. But was it a bit like unmotivating at the start as well, or like how people like the young skiers what do they think about us? Because there's no contact between the West and you guys. I find it a
Yeah.
bit like when you come back to World Cup.
I understand the question.
Yeah.
I can answer. The new generation is coming, and you know that Russian skiers I usually like very close and not speaking with like international guys, but new generation knows English better
Yeah.
for sure, and they can talk with you, they can discuss with you, and they are more open for speaking. They like to they many of them have Facebook accounts like Instagram accounts, and they try to share videos and so on with others.
Yeah.
And also about motivation, our federation made a very good thing before the first stage of Russian Cup after ban, and now we have. So there was no prize money at the Russian Cup before, but now we have prize money, and it's not too much, but I think that's only 6 athletes get, but it's okay, I think, and it motivates athletes because this is your work to earn money. If you get
Yeah.
money for your results, this is good. This motivation is more for like for like not old, but for like amateur. For this is for old stars. Okay, like let's call them old stars. They took medals in Beijing and at World Championships. For them, money can motivate them to race and not to lose races because in Russia we don't have this problem as you have at World Cup. Everybody really wants to compete in the races because it's a possibility to earn money and show yourself, even when it's minus 30 or minus. So everybody wants to race because so it's very uncomfortable, yeah. But if we had a chance not to start, we would find guys that would like to compete, and the leaders also want their place, maybe in a team or at the podium, and we are competing always. We are fatigued at the end of the season, very tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like about hating skis after season, yeah. But everybody competes, and the guys that skip races, the reason is, for example, trauma or illness, they are very disappointed. The only one guy who is preparing for equal races and skipping lots of Russian Cup stages is Sergei Volkov.
Okay.
This is the only one man. Everybody compete, always
Yeah.
compete, and this is how is it now.
how it works in Russia.
So,
But
any other questions?
yeah, before we hang up, there's this one question that we ask all our guests. If you had to do one session with 2 other people in one place, what would you do? Where would you go? And who would you do it with? It can be any sort of activity. It can be people alive, dead. It can be just your imagination, just to tell us a bit who you are, and so we get to know a bit more about you.
2 persons and in any place.
Any place you want.
I think this is a very difficult question, but I think that I should answer like I like to have an in session with
Yeah,
maybe like that.
like all
Yeah,
days.
I really love. Yeah, I really. So this is a place that makes me strong,
Yeah.
and so because so due to this, I will choose Ramzao. And you guys just speak about the future of cross country skiing.
Sounds like a good plan.
Like, yeah,
I think we've lost Mika on the end of this podcast, and the connection is getting worse and worse, I feel. So maybe it's already 10:30, so maybe it's good to call it a day. Thanks for joining this podcast, Sergei. It was cool to have a point of view that we don't read about so much these days, and like kind of insights into what's happening now in Russia, even because we're not responsible for the actions of our politicians. So it's good to hear about our friends and individuals skiing in Russia. So thanks for joining.
thank you very much, Jamie, and tell the same for Mika. Enjoy the podcast, and I hope to see you soon in the future in real life, not on the video.
Hopefully in a race when everybody's safe and Right.
So thank you, guys.
Thanks everyone listening to this podcast. Remember to like and subscribe, and talk to you on the next episode.